California's 13th congressional district, joins us now for a closer look into that situation. Representative Duarte, thank you so much for taking time to visit with us today. Let's start our conversation off with the recent field hearing that you were a part of with the House Committee on Natural Resources. Tell us about that.
Well, it was a field hearing we held in Tulare, California, in David Valadeo's district to talk about a bill that David Valadeo's got, the Water for California Act, and another bill, kind of a companion bill, really, that Ken Calvert is pushing called the Fish Act. And these two acts alone are, quite complex. A lot of this legislation carries a number of different titles and initiatives. But in simplest form, the Water for California Act gets back to sensible management of our current infrastructure and helps us at least get closer to building the additional infrastructure we need in California. And you can see in some of the photos here, we had a bipartisan group. Jim Costa joined us, Congressman Costa from Fresno. We had Doug LaMalfa, Bruce Westerman, our chairman of Natural Resources, Tom McClintock, my neighbor to the east in California districts, and David Valadeo, of course. So we had Cliff Bentz came down, the subcommittee chairman for Waters, Oceans, and Fisheries, and Waters, Wildlife, and Fisheries, and Natural Resources. So it was quite a group of us. You can see, again, in your photos here. We visited a flooded family here. We visited the Middleton Reservoir on the San Joaquin River on the east side of the valley, and really learned a lot and learned some really important facts of what's going on and how silly it is that California is short of water and short of water infrastructure.
Right, because it is such a critical feature there in your state, and you're so ag-rich. Talk about these efforts and how specifically it is going to help farmers and ranchers out west.
Well, more infrastructure is more infrastructure, and we asked a panel of water district managers to tell us what their infrastructure requests would be, and to really give California several generations of water abundance for the environment, for agriculture, for housing, for industry, would cost about $12 billion. And when you look at California's $3.6 trillion GDP annually, this kind of gold-plated, geared up, abundant water infrastructure would be about 1/3 of 1% of California's annual GDP. So 50 years of infrastructure for 1/3 of 1% of California's annual GDP. And then, of course, we have to talk about how we manage that infrastructure. We can't just flush the water out to the ocean. We've been doing that since the early 90s. It's been 30 years now. We haven't recovered the salmon. We haven't saved the Delta smelt from extinction. We can't find a Delta smelt. The salmon numbers aren't climbing, but we're destroying our environment. We're destroying our groundwater resources. We're destroying our agricultural and food industry. We're making housing unaffordable and unreachable for many Californian working families. We're limiting our industry and growth of jobs. We're actually hurting human health in the South Valley. We've got a man-made dust bowl in the Coalinga area down in southern Fresno County, where pediatric respiratory illnesses are on the climb because we're creating a dust bowl for lack of water. So these are very solvable problems, and unfortunately, the lords of scarcity that govern California are choosing not to solve these problems.
Well, you have certainly made some great points there about how far-reaching that issue is. That's Representative John Duarte. We appreciate your time today, and keep us updated on that situation.